All right, so today we're going to talk about Matthew 4. I'm sorry, Mark 4. If you want to go there in your Bible, I'll be reading it soon. And I read a long time ago that what you think about God is one of the most important things about you. What you're thinking about God is one of the most important things about you. And so I think that totally comes out in this passage, what the disciples are thinking about Jesus in this passage. And it's true for us as well. Like what we believe about God, what we think about him really does direct and drive our decisions, our thoughts, and our actions. And so I'm going to read I keep saying John, Mark 4:35 to the end of the chapter. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let's go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him?" So here we have a situation. Jesus is going to show that he has power over nature in this little passage. The following passage talks and shows him having power over the demonic realm. He casts out demons. And then right after that, he shows he has power over sickness and death. And we certainly want that today, that power. But he's going on this trip, and the water's coming into the boat. And where's Jesus? He's in the back. He's asleep, it says. And so the disciples are probably struggling. They're bailing out water. They're trying to keep the boat in the right order to keep it floating. And Jesus is asleep. Now, I don't know about you, if you've ever been on a boat that has been in the storm. I've been in just like one or two, like in the bay, not really in terrible shape, no threat of like turning over. But when a boat is like churning, it's not a fun place to be. Certainly, I don't know how you're sleeping, but Jesus was asleep. And he was human. He was 100% God, 100% human, but he's sleeping. I don't know how he was, but he must have been tired from all the other ministry he had just been doing. And so they wake him up and they say, "Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing?" And what they're really saying is, hey, you don't care that we are perishing. It's very accusatory in their tone, which makes sense because it certainly feels like to them, it feels that he doesn't care because he's not helping. They want him to help, and he's apparently sleeping. I don't know if you ever had any bad roommates who never did their dishes or never, cleaned up after themselves. I have a daughter that leaves crumbs on the futon downstairs in my little man cave TV room. And I was like, "Do you not care that I have to sit in chips to watch Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker that just came out yesterday?" So I accuse her, right? They're accusing Jesus. And he just gets up and he goes, "Shh." It's basically what he says in the Greek here. He says, "Quiet." He says, "Shush." And of course, everything is stilled. Everything is calm. And if they were afraid before, they're even more afraid now. He says, he says to them, why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear. So their fear was ramped up when they actually saw his response. They realized something. Their alignment to who he really is was just changed. Like I said, it started. What we think about God is the most important thing about us. I don't think they really understood who he was at this point, and they're going to continue to understand who he is and what he's about in the weeks and months and maybe a year to come. But they really changed their opinion about him. He wasn't just a rabbi. He wasn't just a teacher. He's now doing miracles. And we always think that miracles produce faith, right? But it's the other way around, actually. Faith produces a miracle. Generally, in the scripture, we see faith produce miracles. Jesus would not do some miracles because people just didn't have faith around him, and he would send people away. Here, there's no faith on their part. They don't have faith. They only have fear. In fact, when he does this miracle, calming the wind and the sea, they don't receive any more faith. They're actually more afraid because they realize, I'm in the boat with someone who could do this, someone who could change instantly nature. The laws of physics respond to this guy's voice, and that's scary. Anytime an angel shows up in the Bible, the first response that people have is to fall on their face. They're tempted to worship. And so many times the angels say, get up, get up. I'm just, I'm not God. Here, they see God at work, and they're moved to fear because they understand I'm in a boat with not just a man, but someone who controls all of nature. And their question ends with this: who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him? And I would love to hear the response that their question, what Jesus said about himself. We don't have it recorded, so we can't, we could just speculate, I guess. But I love the change of heart that they had. And they're going to go on to see all these different aspects of who he is in the following chapters. So just for our day, just trying to end with some application, and we'll go into some questions after the recording stopped, is, obviously we could feel like God is asleep right now. Feels like the world is just stopped. The world's churning maybe around you. People are getting sick. We feel like we're in house lockdown, like in jail in our houses. Routines are totally upset. And you could feel like, where is God in this? What is he doing? And this is just a time where people are thinking about thoughts they never had before about God. And it's good. We need to be slowed down. I'm not saying we deserve this. I'm not saying this is God's punishment, nothing like that. I'm saying we need to slow down ourselves, even in normal life, and begin to think rightly about God in this situation where we can do that. And so I think that's a blessing for us. And I'm hoping that God will use us to bring an awakening to the people that don't know him and a revival to the people that do, that they could use this time to really understand who he is and what he's about. And this is what I want for myself. I want to dig deeply into the scriptures, all the things that I really wanted to study this chapter of the Bible or this book of the Bible that I've been putting off. Well, now I have time, now I don't have to just binge watch the latest Netflix craziness that everyone's talking about. I could go after things in my own life that I've been letting just be. And so you might be tempted to think that God's asleep, but he's not. He's there. He's in control. He knows what's going on. He's at work. He's changing lives. And that's the most exciting thing that I'm waiting to see, what's going to happen on the other end of this journey through COVID-19. What's going to be at the end of this trip. But we know that Jesus is here. He's right with us in the midst of it. In fact, I know this because he experienced the ultimate wrong thing that ever happened to him, right? He was crucified. He bled and died for my sin and for yours. And that was the most evil thing that ever happened because he did not deserve it. I'm not saying we deserve COVID. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying the most unjust thing ever happened to Jesus because he loves us. And he was willing to take that trip, that journey, and experience just being pummeled, right? Pummeled by the Romans, by the leaders of the day. For our sin. And he came through on the other side with new life and with a new beginning and a resurrection. So God's there, whether he delivers us or not from this virus, we could trust him. I'm going to end with a verse, my favorite verse from Daniel 3. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were commanded to worship and bow down to this idol of Nebuchadnezzar, right? And they refused. And he's like, I'm going to throw you in the fire. And they're like, okay. And this is their response to their death threat of Nebuchadnezzar. They say in Daniel 3:18, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be this known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. I love how they say, he's able to deliver us out of your hand from this fire. But even if he doesn't, we're still not going to bow down. And so we know that God is able to deliver us from any and every situation. And if this life were the only life that we had, then yeah, we could doubt, then we could accuse God. But this is not the totality of our life. Our life will exist on the other side of our own resurrection because Jesus made it possible by going through all that stuff that he did when he was here. So he's changing the disciples' minds about who he is in this passage. And I'm praying that this whole experience that we're going through will change our hearts, change our minds, so it can be light and bring life to the world that does not know him, that we can see this awakening happen in our own lives and hearts. So that's it. Thank you for listening.